Hello, my name is Ismina Lakhani, and I'm a family counselor for the Alberta Health Services Pregnancy and Infant Loss Program. In this video, parents share their experiences of losing a baby, the decisions they had to make at the time, and what they found meaningful. Parents have told us that they valued spending as much time as they wanted with their baby to create the memories they wanted. Remember, this is your baby. As a parent, you can choose what you would like to do. This can include taking your baby home for a short time.
For me, one of the most difficult decisions in this was just deciding kind of how to end the pregnancy. I was given the choice of a surgical termination or of an induced delivery. And it was really hard because it was trying to balance what I felt I needed in the moment, which was to not be pregnant anymore and for this to be, finished as painlessly as possible, with what I thought I might need in the future. When I thought about the future, I thought, well, maybe I will want to have had the opportunity to meet my baby and to gather those keepsakes. And so it was really challenging to sort of balance present me with future me. And one of the pieces of advice he gave me, and something that has always stayed with me, is he said, I hope that when you look back on this time in your life, you will have only compassion for yourself. You will know that whatever decision you made, you were doing the best you can in an absolutely devastating set of circumstances, and you will feel compassion for yourself.
I think what people don't realize is when you have a miscarriage, in many cases, it's not like you just miscarry and it's done. So for me, there was the first day of just finding out I was having what they'd call a miscarriage, that the baby had passed. And that day, for me, I tried to continue on as normal. Like, no one knew I was there. So I didn't really process it till that evening when it was like, okay, I need to now stop and realize this. And then figure out the next day that what am I doing? Because they've then given me this prescription to go fill this medication. And then going home and realizing okay, when do I take this? Because again, I think they don't prepare you for what the actual experience is.
I think, the first decision was, I remember when that happened, and within an hour, your whole world's been turned upside down, and they asked, do you want to start the induction now, or do you want to come back in the evening? And I think we just let's go home first and at least try to wrap our heads around something, what's going on here. So we left.
And so right after he was delivered, they did give us the choice of whether we wanted to hold him right away or whether we wanted them to take him and clean him and dress him. And so we asked that they take him, and then they brought him back to us, and he was dressed and he was swaddled in a blanket. And they had a cuddle cot near us to keep him cool. And so they put him in the cuddle cot, and then we just had a stretch of time with him, really, to kind of hold him and look at him and cuddle him and talk to him, and take lots of photographs. Sometimes I regret that I didn't hold him right after he was delivered, kind of put him on my chest. And I asked instead for the nurses to clean him and dress him. But that was what my heart could handle in the moment.
For me, the biggest thing is that you want to spend time with your child if you get that opportunity, for sure. It's not an easy thing to do, but, I'm so glad that I did get the opportunity to do it. So that would be the main thing, I would say, more than anything. If someone was sent to us, it would have been a counselor of some sort, I guess, and she asked us if we wanted to do an autopsy, and we decided to do one just because we wanted to know what happened, why did this happen.
He's pretty healthy and nothing wrong with him, but I didn't ask for any autopsy because, as I said, and the nurse agreed, he's pretty healthy, there's no need to do that. Nothing wrong with him.
When you actually do something, then that will be remain in your memory, and I would call is connection with the baby, because we don't have much time with him, right? So if we don't create some time or some fragment or some memory that we might lost, completely lost.
So we have the footprint and handprint. So his tiny little feet and hands on it. And then we have a memory box. And then the nurse offer if we want to have actual outfit for the boy. So we can bring it. But we did bring the blanket back to home in the box.
Decided to do a shadow box of them, and then just the cards that we got from the Foothill Hospital, because for us we did not know what those numbers mean until that day. And then the hats that Hope and Faith had in the hospital, and then the hat that Nora had in hospital, and their wristbands.
So we contacted a photographer before we went into the hospital because we knew the date of our induction. So there is an organization called Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep, and photographers volunteer their time to come in and take photographs for couples where there's been a loss. We also took a lot of photographs on our phones.
In addition to the pictures, there's a lot of little videos and stuff of us laughing, of him, how he's dressed, how funny he looks in his hat, and all that sort of stuff that you would with the child. And I think that kind of helped make it all the more real.
And as soon as they took him out of the room for the last time, I immediately, was on my phone looking at the pictures and the videos. It was a very visceral need, and it was a very, very immediate need that I had for those memories and for those tokens, which I hadn't anticipated. I thought maybe, I'd come back to them down the road months or years later, but it was really a matter of seconds that I found myself wanting those physical items or tokens to help me feel connected to him.
And then she started putting out this literature on funerals and all these things. It didn't even click to me that would have to have a funeral. Like, I don't think about that. And so, then you got to make a decision for a funeral.
I called the funeral home, and they said, don't worry, we'll plan everything. They called Edenbrook Cemetery, and between the two of them, they planned it, and they call me and say, okay, you tell us what you want, we tell us what you want. But how do you start to plan a funeral for babies? Where do I begin? So I had to call people in my church. I said, what do I do? So they said, okay, we'll come over, we'll sit, and we guide you. It was a sad day, but it was nice to see the support.
There is no right emotion. There is no perfect narrative arc in terms of hitting these emotional beats at different stages. It's all a cocktail of different emotions. There was moments in that room where we were crying and laughing at the same time, that we created jokes about our son and with our son while knowing that these were the only places that we'd be able to kind of spend time with him. If you feel like you've got a guidebook or a playbook that you're thinking to follow emotionally, toss it out, because it's everything all at once. And I think that's a good thing. At least for me, that has been a good thing.
Yeah, there's something kind of cruel about how logistically demanding tragedy is, right? Where you're struggling, and then there's decision after decision being piled on you. And I would say to anyone in that situation to recognize that whichever way you go, you're doing the best you can. And I know for us, we couldn't do everything, but what we did do was what we could handle. We had to be gentle with our hearts, because for us it was about making those memories, but it was also about this profound loss and this grief that we are going to carry with us for the rest of our lives.
Some parents have told us that they are too overwhelmed to make decisions at this time. You may want to give yourself more time before making these decisions. Or you could talk to the unit social worker or appoint a trusted family member to help you with the decisions. Remember that your healthcare team is there to support you. You can find out more about pregnancy and infant loss by going to MyHealth.Alberta.ca and searching for a program in your area.